Have you ever kind of wondered if you could run the Russian squat program for bench press and still get pretty decent results? Hey, I'm Alex. I'm a professional strength and conditioning coach. I've been doing that for well over a decade now, and I've coached, 160 plus athletes, everyone ranging from recreational through to senior international athletes. I've also been head coach of Yorkshire Barbell Club, so I like getting people strong. Right. RSR, it's a squat program, right? Russian squat routine, Russian squat program. But can we use it for bench press? Does it actually work? That's kind of what we're going to go through today. I've got my laptop to guide me. I love going on tangents, so this is going to keep me roughly structured. I'm going to take you through the pros and the cons of the Russian squat routine for bench. What we're going to do, step by step. I'm going to take you through the pros, I'm going to take you through the cons, and then I'm going to give you my recommendations on how to slightly tweak it to maybe make it more effective as an actual bench program. This is based on my experience and my experience of taking lifters through this. So, take it all with a pinch of salt, but this is kind of what I do and what I've done in the past. Hopefully it lets you train better and a little bit more smarter. So, pros. What I really like about it is it gives you that 3 times per week frequency, right? So sometimes I think bench press, for some people, twice a week works really, really nicely. I find for a lot of people when their bench is plateauing a little bit, upping the frequency to 3 times per week is what really accelerates their bench progress. And I've seen this happen time and time again. So 3 times per week frequency, I really, really like. I also like that it has pretty sensible set and rep schemes. There's nothing outlandish in there, right? You get 4s and 5s and 3s. It all falls kind of roughly within that Prilepin's table kind of guide. Solid set and rep schemes that we know work from years of experience. So I like that. What I also kind of like is that it alternates these heavy and medium days, right? So you've got your heavier days where you're going to do harder work, heavier work, more sets, more reps. And then it drops you back to those, I think it's like 6x2 at 80%, right? Where they're kind of like a little bit more medium, right? So it allows you that little bit of recovery. So if I was thinking about the pros of the program, it's all of those. It's good sets and reps, it's alternating those days, it's the 3 times per week frequency. All really, really good stuff about the Russian squat program and things that I think for bench press work really, really nicely. Now, cons. These are some cons and some things that I think I've encountered that maybe don't work so well. The first one is actually those medium days. 6x2 at roughly 80% is a weird set and rep scheme because it's not heavy enough to promote any growth or adaptation, but it's also not light enough to really allow for recovery. So yeah, it's an odd choice. Also 16 to 18 sets of bench press per week. Some people are going to be completely fine with this. But I think if you are bigger and you're stronger, you're probably going to find that you struggle a little bit. So if you already have a decent bench and you're trying to then push it even further, you might find that you struggle with that amount of volume quite a bit. You might start getting a little bit of like connective tissue niggles in your shoulder or elbow. So it's just something to be aware of, right? Now, taking all of this into account, I've got some recommendations that you can use. And these are all things that I've done to make this program more effective and to try and mitigate, to try and clear up some of those negatives or some of those cons from the last one, right? Right, recommendations. So the first one is use more variation. So instead of just doing bench press 3 times per week, I want you to use some exercise variations, and that's going to clear up a lot of those. It helps to prevent the injuries and niggles because it ever so slightly challenges you slightly differently, right? So instead of just doing bench, you could do bench press, and then on day 2 you might do something like an incline bench press, just ever so slightly up, just changes the angle ever so slightly. And then on day 3 you might want to try something like a longer pause bench press, maybe a tempo bench press. You could, even if you're feeling a little bit crazy, do something like a flat dumbbell bench press. You're not going to be able to lift as much total load, but it is something that's a nice variation on a theme. I've used all these different variations effectively within a week, and the progress is really, really good. What I actually like to do is on the days that are meant to be your lighter or recovery days, I'll choose the lighter variation. So it might be that on a heavy work day, we'll do classic bench. On a lighter variation day, I might do something like incline, it might be some dumbbell bench, and then I'll go back to a heavy day and do some classic bench again. So that's just an approach you can take. You'll probably find it reduces the amount of niggles and little shoulder and elbow sort of stuff you get, and it manages fatigue a little bit better. So that's one thing you can do that's really going to help. The second thing, Thinking about the total sets per week, if you are a bigger, stronger lifter, if you've actually got a decent bench already and you're trying to bring it up, start more in the region of like 9 to maybe 12 sets per week, right? I think, yeah, 9 to 12. So you're gonna do maybe like 3 or 4 sets on one session, and 2 or 3 on the next, and 3 or 4 on the next. So you're just removing a set or 2 from every session as written in the program. And then you can see how you respond to those set volumes with the 3 times per week, see how you recover, see how your sort of chest feels, see how your shoulders feel. And if that feels good, if that feels okay, like you're recovering nicely after a couple of weeks, then you can start adding some sets back in. Remember, like, it's always easier. You can always add sets back into a program and, you know, like, be fine. You can always start easier and make it more difficult and ramp up, but you can't do it the other way around. If you start too difficult and then you just get yourself battered and injured and tired, you can take away sets, but the fatigue's already there. You've already kind of messed up that training block, you know what I mean? So start more conservative, build up the volume over time, especially if you're someone that's a bit stronger. If you are not so strong, if you've not been training the bench that much, if you know it's a weak lift for you, if you are honestly just like a smaller female lifter, you'll probably be completely fine with the higher amount of sets. So you can probably just jump right in with those. Heck, you might even need to add a little bit more. And that is basically everything I do for Russian squat for bench. They're my recommendations. They're the pros, the cons. If you've got any questions, bang them down in the comments. If you want to do the whole like, share, subscribe thing, obviously it's really useful, helps grow the channel. And if you want a little bit more one-to-one contact with me, what you can do is you can jump into my athlete coaching community. It's a huge community, well, I say huge. It's a new community that I'm hoping to become a huge community of athletes and lifters. There are training programs in there specific for powerlifting and weightlifting that have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 day per week variations. There are like sports nutrition guides, recovery guides. You can do like live question and answers every week. You can submit questions to the thread every day that I personally answer. You can even submit like videos of your training, so any lifts that you do, and I'll offer you technical feedback. So the amount of value you get in the group is ridiculous for how much it costs, and it's actually free for an entire month. So I don't like anyone to have to jump into something and just like pay without knowing that it's good. So anyone can get an entire month's free access if they want. So I'll put a little link down in the description bit somewhere. If that's something that you're interested in, give it a whirl, see if you get some value. But there'll be a bunch of really in-depth content in there and a bunch of access to me personally if you want to ask me a bunch of in-depth questions. So yeah, that's it for today, and I will catch you in the next one. See you later.